Good evening.
Good afternoon, I was going to say. I guess it's in that period in between, isn't it? Hi, guys. My name is Gabriel. I'm from Birmingham in the UK.
And I'm Emily from Cambridge in the UK. And we want to know who you are. If there is anybody out there.
I suspect people are still enjoying the sun. It's kind of before the pre-evening rush hour. So we'll see how many people we get. It's been really nice weather today, though.
It's been lovely. I wish I was able to take advantage of it. Okay.
Looking at accidents and emergencies today. Talking about accidents and emergencies, present perfect with ever, and describing an accident that you may have witnessed or been a part of in the past.
It's a fun topic.
Yeah.
Well, I guess we might as well have a look at this. What is an emergency? What kind of emergencies are there? I mean,
Go on.
I was just going to say there are so many kinds of emergencies.
Or kind of emergency, I suppose different levels as well, public, private. It encompasses a whole range of occasions of panic, doesn't it?
Yeah. It could be an emergency, you need to have an emergency cup of tea between the
That's true. That's true.
While you're waiting for your TV program to start. Let's just study old-fashioned. We can pause everything now.
True. Emergency cup of tea. Hi, Paola.
We've met Paola before.
We've had Paola on before, yeah. How are you doing this afternoon/evening, Paola? Yeah, I mean, it can stretch from literally. I suppose we are in the most globalized emergency that probably that's more tangible emergency-wise. But I mean, yeah, they could be so personal, couldn't they? You could leading the loo can be an emergency when you're
definitely
real.
And we use the word accident in that context as well. To have an accident could be
if you don't make it to the loo.
If you don't make it on time to the loo, you could have an accident.
Yep.
Yeah.
When does an accident become an emergency? That's an interesting way of phrasing it.
I don't know that an accident does become an emergency. I don't think an accident becomes an emergency. When you have an accident, there might be an emergency at the same time.
It doesn't really follow on that one follows on.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know.
Well, we could say, so to Paola, when we talk about accidents and emergencies, what are we talking about here? What is the first
thing that leaps to mind? What's a... Okay, hang on, we have an answer for that. What an accident becomes an emergency when your life is in danger. Yeah.
I mean,
That absolutely could be the case, yeah. Watch out for the third person ending. So we'd have an accident becomes an emergency when your life is in danger. Absolutely, though, yeah.
Yeah.
I suppose that's a good answer to what I was wondering.
Yeah.
This girl here looks like her
Been
accident is potentially an emergency situation.
Yeah. Yeah. Are there
Particular accidents that are common in your country? And why do you think there are so many of these types of accidents?
I bet there are more scooter accidents in Italy than there are in the UK.
I'm sure. We have a lot of bicycle accidents in London. I do know that. We have quite a I think quite a I don't know. Cyclists in London can be very ambitious and confident in their own abilities, and when you have so much traffic and congestion, it's only natural that a lot of accidents happen.
Yeah.
I think the stats of people dying from bicycle accidents and things is astronomically high.
Oh, really?
Yeah. One of my friends went to a Halloween party dressed as a cyclist. It's one of the living terrors, I think. It's one of the ways I think you're most likely to die in an accident in London.
Oh, wow.
So we have a lot of bicycle accidents. Yeah.
Yeah. There are a lot of cyclists in London. I mean, London is. It's not because London is more dangerous than other capital cities for London for cycling, I imagine. But I don't think cycling in London is more dangerous than cycling in Rome, for example. But there are just a lot of cyclists.
People don't really cycle here, though, do they? It's not.
Well, yeah, exactly. So
yeah.
the reasons that those stats would be so high is not because London is just...
Yeah, I think also largely because it seems like a lot of the streets have been built around the possibility of automobiles too. Whereas I don't know, if you took somewhere like Amsterdam, that's definitely been built up around the idea that you have a bit where there be cyclists. I know London is kind of moving in that direction, and they have cycle lanes a little bit more now.
Yeah, it's getting better.
I think it is getting better, definitely. But I think maybe 20 years ago, even 10 years ago, there's a lot of traffic, a lot of very busy, congested traffic next to the cyclists.
Yeah. I lived on a street in London where there was one of those cyclist superhighways. So it was a two-way cycle lane. And I had to cross that street at rush hour sometimes in the morning to go catch the train to go to university. And it took forever to get across because the same rules apply, but the cyclists don't have it in their minds that they have to stop at a zebra crossing for the pedestrian to cross the road. So there was madness,
Yeah.
going up and down. Anyway, we've gone on a bit of a tangent.
Yeah.
Are there particular? So that's what's common in London, Paula. Are there particular types of accidents that are common in Milan or in Italy? I wonder what the cycling is like in Milan. I would bet that it's better than in Rome. It's a bit more of a modern city. Gabe, your breathing is very, very loud on your mic today.
Is it?
Yeah.
It's potentially because I've shifted.
Now I can't hear you.
How about now?
Si? Only a tiny bit. No, that was much better.
Is that better? Okay, I've changed the feed. What can you do if you witness an emergency? What would you do if you witnessed an emergency?
Or even, what have you done in the past?
What have you done in the past? Yeah.
I've never actually seen a serious emergency. Oh.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
Volunteering the Green Cross in Milan. I think that the drugs are an emergency.
Yeah. Or drugs.
Okay.
Actually, your breathing is still pretty loud.
Yes, you've definitely witnessed emergency situations then, Paola, I'm sure. Yeah. What kind of emergencies have you seen then? What kind of emergencies do you deal with in the Green Cross? Can you give us an instance, an example? Like heroin overdoses and stuff?
I imagine so. What is the Green Cross?
If I witness an emergency, I can call the emergency centre or also manage the situation.
Yeah. I mean, if you found, well, for a drug overdose, I'm not trained in anything, so I would call an ambulance.
They have that thing now which you can like spray into people's noses. Into people who are having a heroin overdoses nose. I can't remember what it's called. It's like nartoxil or something. I've completely forgotten what it's called. They're pharmacists in the UK have been. I think there's a lot of medical advice that's been out in the UK recommending that, like, actual members of the public have it on them.
Oh wow!
I think it's a campaign that they were trying to front in Birmingham as well, because there's a huge heroin problem. Yeah.
Huh. And Paula says the green, because I asked what was the Green Cross. She said it's like the Red Cross, but with another name. I mean, I have heard of the Green Cross, but I don't know.
How does it differ from the Red Cross? It sounds like a more ecologically aware Red Cross.
It does, yeah.
I suppose the pharmacies here have a Green Cross as opposed to.
Yeah, I wondered if it was maybe. I mean, the Red Cross deals with a lot of health issues as well, but I wondered if the Green Cross was like a specific health branch of the Red Cross.
If it's more to do with drugs, maybe? I don't know.
Yeah. And so, yeah. So accidents and emergencies, this is more, I don't know how if they have that pair of things in the US as well, but A and E is the part of the hospital that you want to go to in the UK if you have an emergency. So the A&E department is the got to fly. It's the accident and emergency department. And in the US they call it the emergency room, don't they? The ER.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good point, actually. Accident and emergency. I wonder if is it just ER? Yeah, okay. So that's UK.
A&E is UK. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. ER.
No.
Are you doing the American one?
No. Mm-hmm.
Emergency room. US.
Okay.
Yeah. Red Cross is part of public services of the Italian state. Is the Green Cross independent? Who is Red Cross has particular leave at work?
Huh. I mean, the Red Cross is definitely not just the Italian state. It's an international organization, but maybe it's more closely associated with state governments, at least in Italy. Well, we can. That's interesting. We can check. But in the meantime, so we have some vocabulary here, and we have these sentences with some blanks. So we have a lot of phrasal verbs. This is an optimistic group of vocab to go through.
Some of them aren't all negative.
Crash into, burn down, slip on, fall down, go up, run over, and put out. And Paula says,
the Green Cross, the Pink and Blue Cross, the Purple Cross are associations, right? So do they function independently from state services? Is that the key difference here? I know the Green and Black Cross in the UK, but that's an anarchist organisation, I think.
oh, so it's not the Green Cross.
No,
it's Black Cross, but
it's the Green and Black Cross. It's an anarchist organisation in the UK. They offer support and services for people going on demonstrations and things as well. I think they take a very anti-authoritarian. Well, they're anarchists, obviously, but they kind of assist with other groups on demonstrations. There are loads of crosses, aren't there? So it's a common
motif,
exactly. So if we look at this first, have you read the list on the right?
I read the list, yeah.
You read the list, fantastic. So if we look at the first example here, while driving, I saw a dog walk onto the street. I didn't want to it, so I swerved to the left and a tree. Okay, so Paula said they're not independent, but you don't accrue leave for shifts. Oh, I see. Right. Okay. So it's done on a almost more pure voluntary basis, whereas the Red Cross, you seem to get special dispensation, I think, if I'm correct. Finding this very interesting. didn't know there
Yeah.
was such. Didn't want to run over it, so I swerved to the left and.
Okay, that's good. But how does this verb change grammatically in the sentence? You're right. Crash into is the right infinitive, but we need to adapt the verb a little for this sentence.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think there's a mistake here.
I agree. I was wondering that as well.
Over.
You would put the object in between.
Yeah. Usually when we have separable phrasal verbs, if we use a pronoun like it or you or me, the pronoun has to go between the parts of the phrasal verb. So I didn't want to run it over. When we have a noun, you could choose. So I didn't want to run the dog over, or I didn't want to run over the dog. In that case, it's fine. But when we use a pronoun, we pretty much always put the pronoun in the middle. So I didn't want to run it over. So I swerved to the left and...
That would be the... Okay.
Okay, well, you've gone too far into the past now.
Yeah.
We don't need the past perfect, just the past simple. It's a sequence of events. I swerved to the left and then I crashed into a tree. It's not happening before another action. But you got the right verbs, which is good stuff. Okay, number 2. The fire was already too big to so all we could do was to watch the house in flames.
Is my breathing better now?
Yeah, it's much better. I can't hear it at all.
Okay, good.
So number 2. Do you want to take that?
Yeah, it's not fall down in this sense. Fire was already too big to... Any other ideas? Want this idea that we can't extinguish it because it's too big.
Just trying to hit my fridge into silence. Yeah. Oh, no.
Said with enthusiasm, but not quite.
For a second, I thought that was it.
No, that's a good guess because it is about fire. But it's quite a particular phrasal verb, this one. It's a bit of a weird one. Or maybe we can just... so if we use the phrasal verb to put out, it means to extinguish. You put out fire, you put out flames. It's a very strange phrasal verb. I think it's used quite particularly with this.
Yeah. Put out a candle.
To put out a candle, yeah. To extinguish. So all we could do was watch the house. And then we've got another weird one too.
Yeah, there are two possibilities for this. So I think we need to use... Oh, well, no, actually. No, there's only one that
There's
really works.
there's only one real one, but this is again quite a particular fire themed one.
Yeah. And it's not burn down. Burn down is associated with fire, but it's not this one.
It's often you see this phrasal verb attached to in flames.
It's almost an expression.
That's a stock phrase.
You might be able to do this by a process of elimination, Paola. So if you look at the not fall down in flames, although I see why you might think that. Oh, Carla.
Oh, hello, Carla.
Good
and
stuff.
That is the right one, yeah. Could do was watch the house go up in flames. And as we said, go up in flames is the whole phrase here when we talk about something being on fire and completely engulfed, completely covered by fire in a way.
Yeah. Okay. Number 3 is yours.
Okay, sorry. They didn't shovel the snow off of their driveway, so when their neighbors walked on it, they and hurt themselves. So pay attention to the tense here again.
Yeah.
And shovel in this sentence can be the name of the object. So it could be the object, well, not in this sentence, but a shovel could be the object which you use to dig. But it can also be used as a verb. In this case, it's being used as a verb, which is the action of digging, of removing
You're digging again.
You can watch me digging myself a big hole. This isn't a bad exercise, this one, because there are a lot of kind of tricks and pitfalls and red herrings.
Yeah.
It's quite
if
tricky.
only they hadn't made mistakes like saying run over it.
That's true.
Maybe I'll write out that rule that I explained before, actually. See if I can find a way to write that out.
What do we think for number 3 whilst Emily's writing that out? They didn't shovel the snow off of their driveway, so when the neighbours walked on it, they... Well, that's a good idea, Paola. It's a good idea. I see why you've said slip on, But slip on takes a direct object. You have to slip on something. So the classic one is slip on a banana. But this one doesn't have exactly. It's fall down. Because fall down is intransitive. Exactly. Just watch out for the tense in this, though. Again, we have past tense. So we need not fall, but fell down.
Yeah.
Yeah, perfect. Well corrected. Okay.
I'll add that in. We might need to keep going. I'm taking.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine. Emily's still writing the rule about the pronoun in number 1, which is a very subtle. It's a tricky rule. So I'll read number 4. I'm glad they put up a sign to warn people that the floor is wet. You don't want people to it. Exactly. That's the one with the direct object, Paula. That's spot on. You don't want people to slip on it. And so finally we have, luckily, no one was hurt in the factory fire, even though the whole factory... What would be the correct form of the phrasal verb here to Paula and Carla? If you're still there.
Okay. Oh, I don't know why it's put dog in a separate thing. Dog!
Dog.
We got that one, didn't we? Yeah.
Yeah, but don't fill in the last one because there needs the correct form.
That's cool.
Is that one, Paula? Yeah, but what would the correct form of that verb be?
Yeah. I'm worried now about this, about the word.
Is it?
Let's see.
Is it?
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. I was as well. I'm starting to doubt myself, so I've stopped being so enthusiastic.
So, yeah, burnt with a T is the past participle.
Yeah.
Okay. So, number 1 here. Describe what you see in the picture. What type of accident or emergency is it? So, what name could you give to this situation?
I think I maybe say that phrasal verb wrong.
What phrasal verb?
Burnt down. Burnt down. It burnt down.
Doesn't sound wrong.
But it sounds more like a T than an ED. I don't say it burned down.
But that's okay. That's just a matter of pronunciation. When you have ED on the end of the verb walk, we say walked with a T. Sometimes it just comes out as a T.
Yeah, that's true. Walked.
KED we always end up pronouncing as a T.
But it's just very confusing though, because it's when you think about it and write it down.
Yeah.
then
I worked a lot yesterday. For example. Yeah, the car crashed into something. Yeah. Yeah, so we could call this a car crash. So that's a noun as well. This was a car crash or a traffic accident. But car crash, yeah.
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 A car crash you can also use as an expression to say something was a disaster as well. It was an absolute car crash of a wedding. Yeah.
I've never heard that.
You can
I've
say a
heard
car
train
crash
wreck.
as a disaster.
Like
Yeah,
train wreck.
It's like train wreck.
Yeah.
Or can you do shipwreck as well?
No, I don't think so.
I don't think you can. Yeah, but you can do it with train wreck. You can do it with car crash as well. It's an absolute car crash.
Have you ever witnessed an accident like this? What would you do if you witnessed this accident? Paula. And Carla, if you're still there. Have you ever seen a car crash?
I've been in a very minor car crash. I've been in several minor car crashes.
What was the worst one?
I think the worst one was the road rage after the car crash, in a way. The road rage in English, I don't know if you have a translation in Italian, it's quite possible, but we use road rage to describe the kind of anger and animosity between two drivers of vehicles. I can't think of any other way. That's probably about it, isn't it? Road rage, the fury and the anger between two drivers. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it doesn't have to be between two particular drivers, though, does it? You could just have road rage, and it's just when you're.
That's true. You can have road rage and it be unreceived.
Directed at everything.
Exactly. Let me try. I could.
Oh.
To another in which.
When there's an accident involving multiple cars, there is a term for that.
A pile-up.
A pile-up, yeah.
A pile-up is what we call it. I think like that.
A pile-up, yeah.
Yeah, we call that a pile-up, Paula. When several cars, often, sometimes, maybe even pile into and pile on top of each other.
Yeah.
That's like a kind of chain, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. The stupidest road accident that I have ever seen was in Marrakesh in Morocco. There was a busy junction with maybe 4 different roads all kind of converging together. And I saw an ambulance knock into a man on a motorbike.
Oof. At what speed?
Not too fast, because he was okay. They were both had slowed down to come in and cross the big intersection.
Right.
But to see an ambulance hit another vehicle was.
Yeah, I've seen a couple of people knocked off of bikes, and that's quite scary because you see bodies physically fly, don't you? And that's quite I've seen that happen twice, I think, and that's quite scary. You realise the fragility of a human being compared with a ton of metal or more.
Yeah, I always feel quite anxious when I'm riding a bike along cars, because often people don't check if there's a cyclist coming when they open the door. And then if somebody opens the car door to get out, I've seen that happen. I've seen the car door catch the handlebar of a bike, so the bike swerved to get out of the way, but it caught the handlebar. Yeah, it is. It is scary. I just want, so for Paula's answer to number 2, the question is, have you ever, so we're talking about in your life with the present perfect. So when we answer, we would say, yes, I have. Or yes, I have seen an accident like this.
We got another one of these.
Yeah.
Have you ever, well, describe what you see in the picture first. What type of accident or emergency is it? And then to follow on, have you ever witnessed an accident like this?
Yeah.
Yeah. Have you ever had one of these?
I have, but I was too young to remember. We had this on Christmas Eve once, and we spent all of the night of Christmas Eve into Christmas Day in hospital when I was 4 years old.
In hospital? Who was hurt?
We all had smoke poisoning.
Whoa.
It wasn't really like this. It wasn't a big conflagration like this.
That's pretty serious, though. Still, if you're, so what's the story?
We had there was a spontaneous combustion in a bin in our kitchen. There was some sort of oil that my parents had cooked with, not hot, but that had been left in a bin with something else, and it spontaneously combusted. And that room was on fire. And the worst part, the most serious thing, was that this really, really thick, acrid black smoke filled the whole rest of the house.
Ooh. And that's gonna kill you. That kills you before the fire does, doesn't it, as well?
Yeah, I guess. Yeah. And we all went to hospital. I don't know if my parents had smoke poisoning, but I was only 4 and my sister was only 2. And we both had
You both had it.
some smoke poisoning.
I saw a lot of accidents. The craziest was when a car crashed into cars that were parked on right and left of the street. The driver was asleep. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Did you comment on the present perfect?
Well, not for this comment.
No, but for the one above. Yes, I
Yeah.
did.
Yeah.
Again, this is probably a case where, if you're talking about your own personal experience with accidents, Paula, we might use the present perfect. You could say, I have seen a lot of accidents.
But just for that part.
Just for that part, no, it's true. Then when you move on to the incidents next, the craziest was when a car crashed into cars that were parked on the right and left of the street. Then we just need the present simple. No, the past simple, rather.
Yeah.
All of the tenses. The craziest was when a car crashed into cars that were parked on the right and left of the street. And the driver the driver was asleep. And
Yeah.
the driver was asleep. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, because you're giving all the details of a finished event.
A single event, yeah.
Yeah. But in your life, you have seen a lot of accidents.
Yeah.
Yeah. That sounds very dramatic. I haven't seen an accident that intense. I've never seen a pile up like that. Another weird thing that that's just popped into my mind that I'm not sure I've thought about for years was once there was a huge lorry, which is one of those. It's a vehicle for transporting lots and lots of things. A long vehicle, and it was trying to turn around in a square, in a space that was much too narrow, and the lorry reversed into a lamppost, and it kept trying to reverse, and it bent the lamppost back, and then it kind of turned around and it scraped off the lamppost, like, and when it left the lamppost kind of pinged back, and this is this huge metal pole. That was, I remember watching that when I was maybe like 12 years old. That was quite an exciting 5 minutes.
Anyway, you get your thrills, Emily.
Okay, I think there's more.
What's this kind of accident? I suppose we talked a little bit about these at the start, didn't we?
Is it even an accident? Isn't he just sitting down? He's just having a rest.
He's stopped for a smoke. Emergency smoke.
That does almost look like he's got a cigarette.
Quick, I'm out of tobacco. Emergency situation.
Maybe we should go forward because it's not.
Let's go on. I think there may be
even an accident if he fell off his bike. He doesn't look very damaged. Have you ever? So this is good. This is some more present perfect practice.
We only have a minute, bear in mind.
Oh yeah, of course. I always forget about the time.
We should have stuck with the man without tobacco. We should have stuck with him.
We always do this. We have 1 minute left, and I turn the slide, and I'm like, right, students.
Good exercise.
Now we are going to write a novel together.
You have 3 minutes to write 100,000 words.
3 minutes if you're lucky. In fact, I mean, it is 10 to. I'm just going to jump back because we don't have time to get it.
Ignore that.
Yeah, you saw nothing, Paula. But that was good. Good stuff.
Yep. We have another 10 to 13 in 10 minutes on food, on recipes. So if you're still hanging around, come and join us.
Much happier topic next.
Yeah. But some really good stuff there, Paula. And I was very interested in hearing all about your work with the Green Cross as well. Did not know these things about the Green Cross. Cool. If not, have a lovely evening.
Yeah. Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.